Welcome to the Vertical Sky Journal, the podcast that brings you everything you could ever want to know about Kilimanjaro, the climbing and the fitness, altitude and nutrition, the environment, the wildlife, and the people at the heart of the mountain. Today, the grand finale of our comparison series, and the biggest question of all. Not this mountain or that mountain, but this. What could your climbing life look like? 8 great mountains, 1 ladder, the next decade of your dreams, in order.
Yes, and across the recent episodes of this series, we've taken a pretty deep, honest look at how Kilimanjaro stands alongside 7 other magnificent trails and summits.
We really have. We've looked at the Inca Trail, Mont Blanc, Elbrus, Aconcagua, Mount Kenya, Meru, and Everest Base Camp. We basically put them side by side.
Weighing their unique environments against the that immense volcanic footprint of Kilimanjaro.
Yeah.
And what reveals itself when you view all these separate journeys together is a sort of a hidden underlying structure.
Yeah, the secret hiding in all those episodes.
Exactly. The secret is that these mountains are not rivals. They aren't competing for your boots. When you lay them out in the correct order, they form a cohesive ladder. They map out a perfect decade of progression.
I just find that concept entirely reframes how we look at mountaineering because, we so often fall into the trap of judging mountains purely by their elevation, don't we?
Oh, absolutely.
We just assume the tallest peak is automatically the most formidable challenge. But this ladder is ordered by something far more important, what each mountain actually asks of you.
Yeah, not just height. Every rung prepares you for the next one. It teaches you a specific skill or forces a specific biological adaptation. It basically sets you up to carefully construct the next decade of your climbing life.
Spot on. So let's climb it, rung by rung. We begin our ascent on rung 1, Mount Meru.
Yes, Mount Meru in Tanzania. The apprenticeship, it stands at 4,566 meters, and it requires a really concise 3 to 4 days to complete.
And the logistics are quite welcoming, aren't they?
They are, yeah. You sleep in mountain huts rather than tents. The journey begins with this lovely walk through a vibrant forest. But, crucially, you're escorted by an armed ranger because you are moving through the natural habitat of buffalo and elephant.
Which is just an incredible experience in itself.
It really is. And then that peaceful trek transitions into a sharp, thrilling scramble along the crater rim, where you actually have to use your hands to navigate the volcanic rock.
And we really must highlight the biological magic of this particular rung because Meru offers what we consider the great shortcut.
Right, the acclimatization shortcut.
Exactly. If you climb Meru just a few days before tackling Kilimanjaro, you arrive at the base of the larger mountain already acclimatized. And I want to unpack the mechanics of this because it's just fascinating. When you ascend Mount Meru, that reduced oxygen density forces your kidneys to release a hormone called erythropoietin.
Which signals your bone marrow to manufacture more red blood cells, yeah.
Precisely. So by the time you finish Meru and stand at the gates of Kilimanjaro, your blood is already enriched. You're essentially tackling the highest mountain in Africa with, well, a borrowed high-performance engine.
It's a phenomenal advantage, it really is. And once you've experienced that steep vertical shock of Meru, the ladder transitions from vertical aggression to horizontal endurance. So we move to rung 2.
The beautiful classic, the Inca Trail.
The Inca Trail in Peru, exactly. It's a 4-day journey on an ancient road, culminating at a genuine wonder of the world. And it actually features the lowest maximum altitude on our entire ladder. You reach a pass at approximately 4,215 meters.
And there's truly only one intensely difficult day, isn't there?
Yeah, demanding you cross the famous Dead Woman's Pass.
And I think the difficulty of Dead Woman's Pass is often a bit misunderstood. Because it's not technical climbing. It's essentially an immense ancient staircase.
Right.
The physical demand of lifting your entire body weight up those uneven stone steps left by the Incas, and that meets a sudden drop in available oxygen. It tests the mind just as much as the lungs.
Absolutely. But, while Meru teaches you steep mountain days, the Inca Trail teaches you the rhythm of expedition life. You learn how to sleep in a tent, how to pack a duffel bag efficiently each dawn, and, how to pace yourself over consecutive days.
Yeah, the camp life routine.
Right. Furthermore, it teaches the vital expedition skill of commitment. Because permits for the Inca Trail are strictly capped by the Peruvian government, it requires booking months in advance.
Which forces you to plan.
Exactly. To plan, to train, and to dedicate yourself to a goal long before you ever step foot on a trail.
Now, I must admit, I find a bit of confusion as we approach rung 3. We return to East Africa for the wild one, Mount Kenya. This trek takes 4 to 6 days to reach Point Lena at 4,985 meters,
Yes.
and it delivers arguably the most dramatic alpine scenery in East Africa with just a fraction of the crowds. But looking at the numbers, Mount Kenya is lower than our ultimate anchor, Kilimanjaro.
Right, it is.
So, if Kilimanjaro is the goal, why on earth would a climber spend their time and resources stepping backward to a slightly lower peak?
Well, that is precisely the question most climbers ask. And the answer lies in understanding sustained altitude exposure. While Mount Kenya is lower in absolute height, it demands that you spend consecutive nights sleeping near 4,000 meters.
Ah, so it's about the recovery.
Exactly. This forces your body to attempt a recovery in a severely oxygen-depleted environment. It teaches you how to manage chronic fatigue. If you pair Mount Kenya with Kilimanjaro during a single 2-week African trip, it serves as just a rigorous, superb warm-up.
You get that real altitude experience.
You do. You experience the true wildness of an alpine environment before joining the slightly busier trails of its taller neighbor.
Which perfectly sets the stage for the very center of our ladder, rung 4. This is Kilimanjaro, the first great summit.
Standing at 5,895 meters.
Yes, demanding 6 to 9 days of sustained effort. Crucially, it requires absolutely no ropes or technical climbing gear. It is the highest mountain on Earth that an ordinary walker can summit, undertaken as a fully supported camping expedition.
And the central role of Kilimanjaro in this ladder, it cannot be overstated. It acts as the grand pivot of a climber's entire career.
How so, exactly?
Well, everything below this fourth rung exists to prepare you for it. And everything above this rung assumes you have already achieved it. Kilimanjaro strips away the technical distractions and presents this profound test of pure endurance, particularly during the formidable summit night.
And the mechanics of that summit night are what make it legendary, aren't they? You awake at midnight, the temperature has plummeted, the oxygen availability is roughly half of what it is at sea level.
Yeah, and you're just walking upward in the dark for hours.
Exactly. Because there are no ropes to manage or crevasses to navigate, you are left entirely alone with your own fatigue. You have to confront that psychological wall that inevitably arrives, usually around Stella Point. And pushing through that barrier, it changes what you believe you are capable of.
It really does. And once that anchor of self-belief is established, the ladder diverges into entirely new challenges. We turn to rung 5.
Ah, the pilgrimage.
The pilgrimage to Everest Base Camp in Nepal. Reaching an elevation of 5,364 meters, this journey requires 12 to 14 days of tea house trekking. Now, we must emphasize, this is not a summit attempt.
No, it's a journey into the heart of the greatest mountain range on Earth.
Exactly.
And I find the challenge here to be an entirely different physical test. Everest Base Camp demands the exact same acclimatization patience you learn on Kilimanjaro, but spread over a significantly longer duration. It's sort of akin to slow cooking rather than searing, if that makes sense.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
You're forcing the body to adapt to a chronic lack of oxygen over a fortnight rather than a frantic 5-day sprint. So if you already have a Kilimanjaro summit in your legs, you arrive in the Himalayas knowing precisely how your body behaves when deprived of oxygen.
You recognize your own warning signs.
Exactly.
So, from the prolonged altitude of the Himalayas, we travel to the sharp spires of the Alps for run 6, Mont Blanc, located between France and Italy. Standing at 4,808 meters, the ascent usually takes 2 to 3 days, preceded by essential training.
This is where the ropes come out.
It is. This is a critical threshold. This is the exact moment on the ladder where trekking ends and true mountaineering begins.
And we encounter a fascinating paradox on Mont Blanc, don't we? It is lower than Kilimanjaro by more than a full kilometer, yet it is significantly harder to climb.
Massively harder, yes.
We've gone from essentially a very high, very demanding walk on Kilimanjaro to suddenly dangling over crevasses. That sounds like a massive psychological jump.
Altitude is no longer the primary adversary.
Exactly. Mont Blanc introduces the concept of objective danger. On Kilimanjaro, the danger is subjective. It comes from within your own body in the form of altitude sickness or exhaustion.
Right.
But on Mont Blanc, the danger is objective. It exists independently of you. A rock falling down the Barranc Couloir does not care about your fitness level. Therefore, you must use crampons, an ice axe, and a rope.
You have to climb with a certified guide.
You do, because you must navigate shifting glaciers. The mountain tests your ability to maintain absolute focus under the intense pressure of knowing a single misstep has severe consequences. But having Kilimanjaro behind you ensures that the altitude holds no surprises.
Right, which allows you to focus entirely on these new life-saving technical skills.
Which is brilliant. So, building upon that technical foundation, we arrive at rung 7, Elbrus, in Russia. As Europe's highest peak, it stands at 5,642 meters. The expedition requires 7 to 10 days, functioning as a glacier ascent utilizing mountain huts. It represents the perfect first glaciated summit.
And from a purely technical standpoint, Elbrus is straightforward. However, its geographical prominence makes it a magnet for severe weather systems. It possesses a notoriously savage temper.
The weather can turn instantly, can it?
Oh, a perfectly clear morning can deteriorate into a blinding whiteout in a matter of minutes, completely erasing the horizon and the trail. And, we must also note calmly that access to this region is currently complicated for many nationalities.
Yes, geopolitical realities.
Quite. We advise you to check current travel advice carefully and sequence this particular rung when global circumstances allow. But when the time is right, it represents a flawless progression. It demands the crampon skills you learned on Mont Blanc, perfectly combined with the high-altitude experience you gained on Kilimanjaro.
Which brings us finally to rung 8, the graduation, Aconcagua in Argentina. Looming at nearly 7,000 meters, this requires an arduous expedition lasting roughly 3 weeks.
Yeah, Aconcagua is the ultimate examination of your entire climbing life. Now, the normal route requires no ropes, but make no mistake. This is an environment of absolute extremes.
It demands immense altitude tolerance.
It does, and it forces you into the brutal reality of load carries. You do not simply walk up the mountain. You carry heavy backpacks of tents, food, and fuel to a high camp, drop them in the snow, and walk back down to sleep. You fight a war of attrition against your own energy reserves over 3 weeks.
Moreover, you have to endure the ferocious Andean meteorological phenomenon known as the white wind.
Ah, yes, the white wind.
It's this violent katabatic wind that lifts the surface snow, creating a blinding ground blizzard that plunges wind chills to lethal levels. Everything the ladder has taught you up to this point gets its final examination here. Your acclimatization patience, your ability to endure prolonged expedition life, your technical footwork, and your strict self-management in freezing conditions. It's all scrutinized.
And when you stand on that summit, you have truly graduated. But we want to assure you that you do not have to climb this ladder in a strict, unyielding sequence.
No, not at all.
You have the complete freedom to choose your path based on what exactly you are climbing for. If you seek culture and ancient legend, you might prioritize the Inca Trail followed by Everest Base Camp.
And if your heart yearns for pure wilderness and deep solitude, Mount Kenya and Meru should be your focus.
Right. If you wish to master mountaineering skills and technical craft, direct your energy toward Mont Blanc and Elbrus. And, well, if your ultimate goal is the pure achievement of a colossal summit, then Kilimanjaro and Aconcagua await you.
Whatever path you choose, there is a critical ethical imperative that must be respected. On every single mountain we have discussed today, you must choose to pay for the ethical, properly run version of the expedition.
Hear, hear.
There is always a cheap way up. However, those budget options save money by cutting corners in the exact places that keep people alive and ensure local crews are paid fairly. Protect the people who make your journey possible. Never compromise on safety or fair wages.
Absolutely essential. And to conclude our long comparison series, we offered this honest take. People often read lists of magnificent mountains and quietly file them away under the category of someday.
Yeah, they assume the barrier to entry is simply too high.
Or that the required fitness is reserved for elite athletes. But review the ladder one more time. Rung 1, Mount Meru, requires only 3 days of leave from your daily responsibilities. It demands nothing more than standard hill walking fitness.
The entire magnificent decade-long journey starts much smaller than you might think. So climb Meru, climb Kilimanjaro, stand there and watch the sunrise from the absolute roof of a continent, and then decide exactly how high the rest of your climbing life will go.
That's a wonderful thought.
It really is. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, do subscribe so you never miss the latest from the Vertical Sky Journal. You will find a full written version of this episode over on our journal at vertical-sky.com, and we would love you to come and say hello on Instagram, where we are at VERTICALSKYTZW. Until next time, pole, and keep dreaming of the mountain.